All right, so I'm walking out of Target, and I gotta tell you that it's the most surreal thing ever. And I'm not just being critical here. I really stood around a little bit just to watch. But it's surreal in there because Jesus can feel it in the air. Uh, People are milling around, like, it looks like they're milling around aimlessly, all right? And about 60 to 70% of the people in there are wearing a mask, and they got blue gloves on, and it's over the top for me. I don't like this. Things are not okay, and I'm only making this video to sort of catalog it. It's disgusting. It's terrible. America is not going to be the same. And in some ways, maybe that's not bad. But, you know, rarely did anybody in that entire store look me in the eye. And maybe they have a mindset that I am the one that's dangerous because I'm not wearing a mask and I don't have gloves on. There's a spirit of fear going around, and it's completely not necessary. But I don't like it. I was just watching before I got into the store Brian from High Impact Flicks YouTube channel, who was probably one of the most solid voices of reason on YouTube concerning this stuff. And he was citing specifically the actual words and the writings from CNN and from the CDC. I don't remember the other articles that he cited, but they have been, first of all, they projected, the government and the CDC and the World Health Organization, they projected all these numbers from a quote-unquote model, some sort of a computer model. They just fed a bunch of information in there, and then they used that information to scare the living daylights out of America and the world, frankly. And people are not dying and dropping like flies like they implied right out of the chute. That's not happening. But now they're coming back and saying, and Fauci said this, he said this, and this is who Brian was quoting, that Fauci said, it's nothing worse than just your common flu. And they inflated the numbers to just fear factor 10 plus. It was terrible. And now hospitals and doctors were given the mandate to, no matter what people died from, mark it as COVID, whether they've been tested or not. And there's a lot of people coming forward saying this is all not true. This whole thing that they're doing to America here. And I'm just feeling inside of that store and discerning that I think people are on edge right now. I have a sneaking suspicion people are not going to be able to deal with this much longer. And people might begin to do drastic things to themselves or to each other, or to other people, because they're just going to lose it. You can see it in their eyes. Yeah, I can see it in the ones that aren't even looking in my direction. And there may have to be some sort of a class action lawsuit against the leadership in the United States, because they're foisting propaganda on people. This is a common flu. It's not a deadly epidemic as they would have you believe. And even when I would bring my kids, we'd go to the clinic, or myself or whatever, because we've got a cold or fevers or something like that, they would say that there's nothing we can do with a virus because it just has to run its course. The bacteria, on the other hand, you can give it some antibiotics and things like that to get you through that. But a virus, it has to run its course. And some doctors have come out and said, look, this stuff you shouldn't be quarantined. It's like the chicken pox. When people get chicken pox, they would invite all the neighbor kids over, because then everybody would get it at the same time, and it would be a done deal. Your body would be immune to it from that point on. And I'm led to believe it's the same way with this virus as well. And those people that are dying, that they are saying they died because of it, only they actually died with it. It wasn't the cause of death. It's my understanding that the information in Italy came out that the average age of the person dying was in their early 80s. And yet, they scared the living daylights out of the world. And I'm watching it, the repercussions of this, and the panic and the fear that everybody is operating in. It's bad. I don't even know what to say. But you can't even hardly have a conversation with somebody in the grocery store. They're in fear. They won't look you in the eye. They're timid. Whether you believe the Bible or not, I believe the principles in the scripture are accurate. But the Bible tells us to be bold as a lion. And the Bible tells us in Psalm 91 to not fear. It tells us not even be afraid of pestilence, not to be afraid of, anything, really. Scriptures talk about trusting the Lord with all your heart. And I'm not telling you to be out there and be foolish. I've talked about it before where, if you are sick, stay home. Take care of yourself so that you don't get anybody else sick. This is stupid. There are mass waves of people that are digging and scraping and finding what's really true out there. And there are a massive amount of people that are actually telling the truth about what's going on. But there is an agenda, and the mainstream media and the high-level government officials have everybody, not everybody, because I don't believe it. There's a lot of people that aren't buying it. Would have you believe that everything is falling apart and they want to stick you with a vaccine and some sort of a computer chip. They are pushing that. Maybe not this time around, but they put the idea out there. They push the idea about vaccinations and getting yourself chipped so that you can be tracked wherever you go. Not that you're not already tracked with a smartphone, but they just are planting the idea to put it in your body. And they're talking about making that mandatory. Mandatory. Otherwise, you can't go shopping, or mandatory, or you can't get on an airplane, or mandatory, or you can't enter this state. They're talking about that stuff. I want to see people start standing up and like I wish I knew the quote exactly, but it's like those who would trade a little bit of liberty for safety deserve neither. That's a fact. That's true. You know, if you're willing to give up your freedom, why are you here? Human nature is not meant to be tied down and turned into some sort of a subservient slave. That's not a life. I'll tell you what, if you're that afraid of death, don't get into a car. If you're that afraid of death, don't go for a walk on a city street. Anybody could drive off the road onto the sidewalk and you could be dead. If you're that freaked out and scared, don't go to a restaurant. You could get food poisoning. Come on. This ain't making sense. All I'm saying is that when I was in Target picking up some things, you can feel it in the air that there's fear just swirling around in there. And it's manifesting through the people. They don't look you in the eye. The woman was coming towards me with a mask on and a cart, and she's trying to hurry up around a corner and jamming the wheel into the end of the shelf, and it's like freaks me out. Like, you don't know if you should say anything to these people, man. They might start screaming. I really don't care what anybody thinks of me on this. I know that when I learned about building number 7 back in 2007, 2006, when I found out that whole 9/11 gig was not Muslims with box cutters, I decided to educate myself. And I have found a lot of good teachers and a lot of great resources that have shown me what's really going on. And this is another false flag operation. Same as 9/11, but on a massive scale. This is 9/11 times, to the 5th power. This is bad. My customers, my restaurants that I paint and do work at, they have empty restaurants. Empty. Chairs are all stacked up. Tables are empty, pushed over to the side. And they're not sure if they're going to be able to open. And when they open, what's going to happen? People's minds are being fundamentally screwed up right now. Their brains are being fundamentally ruined right now because of the tyrannical mainstream media and the tyrannical leadership within the United States, and whoever is behind those people pulling the strings to the puppets. People's minds are getting corrupted right now, and I can see it everywhere I go. I wish I could remember the movie. I know there's a few movies like this, but I've seen them, that it spins around to where all the people that are freaked out and in fear begin to attack and squeal on those that are not in fear. The folks that are in fear begin to snitch on those that are not fearful. That's probably coming up pretty soon here. I heard the stupid idiot governor of California, I think it was the governor, saying snitches get rewards. Really? Snitches get rewards. Snitches are sissies. Fearful little sissies. Like I said, if you're going to get in a car, you have a risk of dying. Point blank. You could die if you get into your car and get on a road. You could die. Your chances of dying in a car is massive, but we do it every single day. There are more deaths on the road from car accidents. I don't have the stats, look it up. But there are more deaths from that. Did you know there's more deaths from doctors misdiagnosing somebody and giving them a drug and people die from that? Should you not go to the doctor? In some cases, maybe not. There's a spirit of fear that is just permeating this nation and the world. But I'm optimistic in a sense that a lot of people are smelling the coffee now and waking up and seeing what's going on. I just wish I could wake some of these folks up. They're scared. People are scared. And they don't have to be. These little weasels that are pulling the strings in government, they're wussy, weasel, sissies for whatever. They're afraid of those that are awake to the lies that are perpetrated. These people that are the controllers are the little weasel whiners. Just watch Bill Gates. He's like a little weasel worm. I bet that guy got beat up a lot in school. Just watch him talk. You can see it dripping from him. And this is his little sinister way. We'll vaccinate everybody. Put a chip in him. Listen to him. Watch him. He has no respect for most people. He was on a program the other day, and the comments had to be stopped because of all the people coming down at him and just dissing him because they see what a worm he is. Folks, you need to stand up against this stuff. A virus is a virus. It's a cold virus. It's a flu virus, and you get over it. And there's things that you can do. And doctors are curing it quickly, fast, with vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin A. If it's really, really bad in your system, there's intravenous stuff to get rid of it like that. Doctors are doing it. All this to say is that in the store here, the fear is thick. I have a lot of respect for people that walk around and they aren't wearing gloves and they're not wearing a mask. I said it in a video I made yesterday that I know people that have been compromised in their immune system and they wear a mask at times. I totally respect that. For them and the fact that they're taking care of it, and they respect other people too. But it's not what we've been led to believe from the media and from quote unquote government officials, president on down. It's not what they're telling you. Now, my rant is over. And doesn't matter what you think of me. Everybody's got an opinion. I have mine, and I'm entitled to it, and you have yours, and I'm not going to criticize you for your opinion. All I'm saying is what I'm watching is really, really messed up. And people's minds are poisoned right now. Poisoned. I've been hearing that people are not hugging their children because they're afraid. They're not nurturing their children because they're afraid that viruses can be spread from a hug or something. Me personally, when I greet somebody, I like to shake their hand. There's a lot of people out there that humans, we need to be able to touch. We need to be able to smack somebody in the shoulder, or your buddies and whatever, shake a hand, give a hug. We're built that way. Everybody is. And it's a need. And now everybody's been fundamentally mentally changed. And these little sissy weasel people who are pulling the strings and all this stuff, they hate humanity. They hate it. They hate love. They hate it. They hate love. They hate nurture. They hate compassion. They hate people. I think it is incumbent on every single man and woman out there that you go get yourself educated. Stop getting a steady diet of the mainstream narrative. I heard it one time said that if 98% of the people are going in one direction, you're probably pretty safe to go the opposite. And I think that's true. There's a lot of people out here that are being willfully ignorant, and they're going to start attacking those that have knowledge. That just shows you how deep their ignorance goes. So, those that are in fear will probably start to attack those that are not in fear. If you look at biblical examples, David was teased by all of his brothers because they were in fear. But David ran towards the giant. He didn't fear, he had courage. Courage is something, it doesn't mean you don't have fear. It means you don't let the fear control you. And I think that there's a lot of people that are timid and in fear that are just lacking courage. And aren't willing to speak up. But the number one thing I'm going to say is this, is that turn off the dang TV. Turn off mainstream information. Propaganda is flowing at a rate like Niagara Falls. Propaganda is going and going and going and going and going. Turn off the propaganda. Governments know how to use propaganda. It's a science. Edward Bernays wrote a book years and years ago called Propaganda. I suggest you read it. Joseph Goebbels in Nazi Germany was the propaganda minister for Adolf Hitler and that whole time frame over there, because they knew that they could put information out there to scare the living daylights out of people to get them to do whatever they wanted them to do. And they followed like sheep led to the slaughter. Yeah. This is bad. It's bad. I'm watching these people come back to their cars. They got their masks on, their blue gloves. There's a lady who doesn't have a mask on. No gloves. That's cool. That's great. There's a lady over there. Mask on. There's a man there. He doesn't have a mask. That's great. But you know, this is really sad. I like to see people smile. I like to see people, just say hi to them. Give somebody a smile and they smile back. It's supposed to be like that. It's not going to be like that anymore. Anyway, if you lasted this long in my rant, nice talking to you. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you found something to criticize. Doesn't matter to me. I know what I know. Anyway, go out there and have some courage, but get yourself educated. Turn off the damn TV. Turn off the mainstream sewer pipe that is flowing like Niagara Falls into your home. Turn it off. You'll be a much better